Oh, go-gurt.
Allow me to put this into simpler terms. So the necromancer, he's got a tower, a long tower,
Yeah.
primarily constructed of bone. And on one side, you got sorcerers, metallurgists, bone sorcerers, and ghost wizards.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And there's a huge difference between shadow mancers and shadow slingers. And people don't like to draw the distinction between the two, but it's extremely important to keep context in mind.
Right, right.
So it's like, if I'm a warlock, and so the necromancer's all the way at the tippy top.
Okay.
He's over here. He's over here in his tower. Galatrax is over here, and he's raising a skeleton army. And it's important to look at.
Gotcha.
So there's a hierarchy to the bone army. It's hierarchical. It's hierarchical. And all the way down here, you've got the bone boys. And then you've got the crazy bones and the femur fiends, and they're all under the umbrella of the skelesnakes.
Oh.
But see, they're not the ones who hold the real power here, no.
Oh.
Because Galatrax, he's got the Book of Spells. He's got the Tome of Whispers.
Interesting.
And it's like, unless you've got a silver shield, good luck venturing through Blightwood Barrow. Good luck trekking through the Bog Witch's Swamp.
Yeah, that reminds
And above
me.
all,
Check. Am I audible? I hope I'm audible. It seems to be that I'm audible. My audio is visible. So is it actually audible? Let me know. Been having some issues with that. It's good to see Jordan Peterson, when he was a bit more coherent. You know what I mean? Is he dead now? I don't know. Oh, whatever. Welcome to... Oh, cool. Thank you, Eric. Welcome to basically one of the least the stream of the content I've least looked forward to making, and actually makes me kind of feel sick in my stomach to feel the need to make. But I just, I the same thing that caused me to make content about chud content in the first place, is a sense of whenever I know someone's full of shit. And whenever I see enough evidence of something, and because believe me, I do give people benefit of the doubt. I think this is a perfect example of that. One thing that I don't think I said, maybe, whenever, we talked about Otterly Noah originally a couple weeks ago, after, everything kind of broke open and Ant had talked about it. And then we talked about it on the showcast, was that I was actually the one that initiated inviting him onto the showcast. So I'm as much as Ant claims he's responsible for whatever, he's, taking a little bit more responsibility than he needs to, I think. But I was literally the one that said, hey, this guy, he's doing it. Let's get him on and, talk to him. But things have, as with whenever a politician is caught doing something, right? Whether it's Trump and the Epstein stuff or Nixon and the Watergate scandal, it's often the response to being called out for the thing that's kind of more revealing and often worse than, the actual thing. But, well, maybe not in terms of the Epstein files. That's still pretty bad. Never mind. What I mean is the ways that Noah has gone about responding to this stuff, superficially, can be, if you're not really looking, if you're not paying attention, if you don't have a lot of context for it or whatever, it probably seems satisfactory. And oh, well, he's, acknowledging he's being accountable. And I kind of had that at first too. That was my first instinct. But in the last 24 hours or so, I've decided, no, I'm not going to just kind of let information come at me about this. I'm going to look around. I'm going to see what I can see. I'm going to analyze this actively instead of just, watch a video when it pops up like I did today. Though it's a very good video, and I have it here to watch, just as a way to kind of spark the things that I'd like to say. Eric Debunk's video today on the Otterly Noah situation is very good, as are all of his videos. Yeah, so it just sucks, man, because everything I echo everything Eric said in his video. I don't want to disagree with anything really. I would just only add and maybe be a little bit more willing to judge harshly. Which is saying a lot, because I've honestly never seen Eric admonish the shit out of him. Eric was not he made it clear that this guy has hurt people and he's hurt our community broadly. And I kind of tried to sweep that under the rug a little bit, not literally sweep it under the rug, but I tried to brush off the harm that Noah has caused with this. whenever we talked about it on the showcast, because I tried to focus on the fact that Ant's response to it was very encouraging, and it was. I don't take back anything I said there. I just was trying to focus on the good, which is like, look, these communities are going to have people that fuck up, and it's really the response and how that's handled and how accountability is, you know, handled and all that really I think is the measure of a community. And that's true, but that still doesn't negate the fact that there's been possibly irreparable harm done to our our little community here, which I'm not trying to ask for a Nobel Prize or anything, but I'm in no small part responsible for bringing together these people, these disparate content creators that were doing more or less the same thing. And I'm like, hey, why don't we all do this like together, share resources, commiserate, help each other out, stuff like that. And I'm pretty proud of that. But got to take the bad with the good. So the bad being that sometimes somebody's gonna maybe not work out. Going back to whenever we started the initiative, and people would ask me all the time, like, oh, why don't you have this person join, this person, okay? And it was hard to explain, why I wouldn't have a specific creator who I don't dislike as a person, but maybe we just didn't feel right, like was the right person for the project. And the reason for that is because, well, we'll get into that, but it is possible to be doing content where you're criticizing chuds and the crappy things, the lies they say, and the harm they cause and stuff like that. And you be pretty solid content overall, but you're doing it for the wrong reasons, and you're doing it without a solid foundation underneath your analysis of what's actually happening, what it is you're actually criticizing. And, to be fair, I didn't fully understand it when I started it. The only way that I came to understand it was by, attacking it and being attacked by it for years straight. But yeah, we'll get into specifics, guys. I'm not trying to like be too vague around here, be around the bush, but oh no, I'll give you the link, man. Sorry. No, I just needed to add Morgan and Bob, other Bob. So if you want to jump in, I'll give you the link. I apologize about that. You can only have 3 people included, and so yeah, didn't mean to like cut you out as much as to add them. Know what I'm saying? And to anybody that thinks that this is just going to be drama, that's all this is, and that like, oh, it's just drama for clicks or something. That's not what it is, man. Like, this is, I feel a sense of duty to warn and to let people know what I see, so that they can do with with the information what they need to do to protect themselves or whatever. Give me 1 second here. So I just sent you the link there, Eric. Really nothing personal, man. It was just like a matter of you have to pay more to get more than 4 basically chair seats. You know what I mean? And so it would have been I think it's 75, 80, I don't know, something more than what we're already paying. Nonetheless, where should I start here? We'll just start with I suppose Eric's video. Oh no, so I wanted to get a couple things out of the way first. That's right. As far as why I'm doing this, like I said, feel a sense of responsibility, feel a sense of ownership over the scenario. And as I looked into it and just, and then watched Eric's video, like I was already thinking certain things like, man, this guy, I don't know. He seems like he's he's getting one over on people. You know what I mean? And then I watched Eric's video and it became clear, like he just confirmed all of the suspicions that I was trying to tamp down. I was trying to not be so like negatively judgmental. Right. And if you watched any of the content we've made about this situation already, we more over and over again, we've been like, you know what, let's give him a chance. Hopefully he'll make the right choice, blah, blah. And I just don't think that's going to happen. And now it's a scenario where he is talking about just washing his hands of this kind of content that he's been doing, and just going back to talking about autism stuff or whatever. And as someone who's on the spectrum, that's where it kind of triggered me to go, you know what? I'm going to say no to that. I'm going to fucking say no. I'm at least going to say that there needs to be voices out here letting people know not to, blindly put trust into something like that. But we have here this gentleman. Hello. Wait. Oh, sorry. I gotta let you. There we go. Yeah. Hey.
Oh, I wasn't sure what was going on. I'm like, I can hear you.
It's like, how's it going?
Good. No, I mean, I haven't had a chance to chat much recently because my job has me working very early on Wednesdays. But yeah, I'm glad to be here. Glad to chit chat.
Yeah. I mean,
to dispel all the rumors of people coming into the chat.
All the rumors.
Yeah, why did you leave? Were you kicked out? What happened? I'm like, no, it's simply a scheduling issue. That's all it is.
You know what this is? This is a good opportunity to point out that, like, me and Eric and me and Bob and me and other Bob and me and Morgan and me and I don't know about Turf Nation, whatever, but like we've had moments of, miscommunication, conflict, tension, and stuff like that. The thing is, we've worked through those privately because that's what you should do.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't become a big thing. But like, any of these people that would sit around waiting for us to seem like we were at odds and try and pound on that fault line as if they're going to fucking, be the ones to, break up our friendship or whatever. That's pretty stupid. But
the other thing is they expect us to, like, like the reality is people know how I am. If something were going on, I wouldn't be lying about it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be misleading people about it.
Somebody who was in our community and was somebody that we had every reason to, be friendly with and everything. And just at every turn, he made the choices that were opposite to what I feel are healthy, social, mature adult choices whenever, even in the face of mistakes, because we all make them, right? But I
was bummed out by the whole thing with Noah. Like, I was reading through Reddit, and there's a lot of people who are, questioning all of the people they follow. People like Birdman, people like Ant, even stretching out to people like Dead Domain and people that, aren't even directly connected. They're like, are these people being honest or not? You know what I mean?
I hope that we can put, at least whoever happens to see this, I hope that we can help ease some minds, because I think that the simplest way to understand the difference between people who are doing it for, which I believe the reasons we're doing it, and then seemingly the reasons maybe he was doing it, is that, we're coming from a place of legitimate concern for harm and mitigating that harm, right?
Yeah.
And so if we can do that even a little bit, then that is a net positive. And I feel like we do, especially you lately, you've been killing it for a while now. And so, like, in that regard, if this community is good and beneficial and necessary, and but then, so let's let's start with the thing that really kind of ticked me into looking back into this and being like, wait a second, I need to take another look and stuff. So it was is that goddamn community post, the one?
Yep, that's the one. Yeah,
find that here.
I mean, honestly, when I saw the video before I saw the community post, and I was lukewarm to the video anyway, but then once that post came out, I was like, oh, this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good at all.
So I'll put it on screen so everybody can see it. I don't want anybody to think I'm lying. Oh, I already had it downloaded, apparently. That's weird. I couldn't find it. Okay. So he posted several things in the aftermath of being caught, which I think is something that you reiterated many times in your video, and I think bears repeating as much as possible, and it bears keeping in mind. All of these are choices that he only made because he was caught, right? And then in being caught, what are the first, second, third choices he made? Is any of those the first, second, or third choices he made in response to being caught out? To just own up to it and do the right thing? Not really. No, it seems like there were several attempts to manipulate the situation, create narratives around it or whatever, point the finger, stuff like that. And that's the stuff that really started, being, that's a big red flag for me. As somebody who, I pride myself on accountability, and it's the only way I improve my own life was to actually start being accountable for, you know, my mistakes and you know, things I could do better on and stuff like that, and not just paying fucking lip service to it, which I feel like is the case here. But this community post really kind of opened my eyes to like, oh yeah, so
Before you read that, Dane, though, I want to just throw this out there. Like, being accountable for us would be like having some incorrect information. You know what I mean? Like spreading something that we thought was real that we found out wasn't real, or being told something that we find out wasn't true later on. I think that's, to me, that's different than what Noah did, because Noah was doing this premeditated. Like, these were things that he was actively doing. It wasn't like he was tricked. He was the one doing this behind the scenes. So I just think, you know, for me, that's a big deal.
You're right. Yeah, the layers, like I said in your video, the layers of the intention behind it matter a lot. And if you're not properly weighing the fact that these were all in chosen things, like, and that's what pissed me off is that, well, one of the things is, for example, you have to choose to, for example, take, you know, if he just accidentally plagiarized, like you meant to give somebody some attribution and forgot or whatever, the one time, that's like, okay, fine. But no, he was taking videos and cropping them so that it wasn't clear that they were somebody else's video, things like that. You know what I mean? And just like whole chunks of a video like that's, you know, as I was saying, I think maybe it was privately, I was talking to Morgan, it was like people that plagiarize to that degree, or really any degree, to me, it seems like they don't even value the medium that they're engaging in. You know, like if I couldn't plagiarize, not because I mean, yeah, because it's wrong and you shouldn't do that, but just because I wouldn't want that done to me. You know what I mean? Like, and if, I don't know, I'm happy to give credit to whoever, if I'm using somebody's content to make a point or something, it's like, I want to be like, hey, go check this person out. And it says a lot to me that somebody would not want to do that, I guess.
There was also some good faith thrown towards Noah from multiple people after the plagiarism, because he made it seem as if he didn't truly understand exactly where the line of plagiarism started and ended, right? So a lot of people, especially Ant, was like, I can help you, let's work this out. So he was given a lot of goodwill from people after that happened, to try and correct the problems, and then this other stuff occurred. So it's like he already got his one pass from people. You know what I mean?
Yes, the fucking the whole, oh golly gee, I just didn't know that was plagiarism thing. Look, and then because he didn't, you know, the reason was thrown around that because he didn't go to college. Like, look, I didn't either, man. I didn't go long enough to matter. But I still understand what plagiarism is, and I'm engaging in a medium that I you know, and it's not even just that. Even if I didn't understand what plagiarism is, and I really kind of do because I took journalism in high school and stuff, but if I didn't understand what it was, I kind of implicitly feel like I would still want to give credit to people that you borrowed any piece of their content or whatever. You know what I mean? Just like I was saying, because it's something I wouldn't want done to me. But nonetheless, yeah, he and that's what started making me think that, and that's his response. Whenever he gets caught, first he kind of denies it, plays innocent, you know, more or less, like, and the whole making of stream and inviting his accusers onto it that one time, that was actually something that made me think that he wasn't guilty in at least in a malicious context.
Yeah.
And now I'm realizing that I think that's a tactic. I think that's just, and I've known people like this.
Spoiler alert to my video, I said at the end of it, people who own up to this kind of behavior don't typically stop. They just get better at hiding it. That's typically what happens. And I'm not saying that that's what Noah's going to do, but he's already proven to be deceptive in other ways that we didn't even know about. He recorded a conversation with somebody and then came clean about that. And I'm like, this is another thing that we didn't realize that he's been doing. Who else did he talk to that he was doing this with? Like, I think it's fair to ask that question. Like, if he's recording somebody else without their knowledge, he could be doing it to anybody.
And I think that it's important to note that any one of these situations, if he had recorded somebody without their knowledge, and then it got, you know, called out on it, it's like, oh shit, I thought, you know, like, okay, it would still be weird, but taken in totality, these seem to me to indicate a person who is used to kind of, you know, being a weaselly little fuck, and like doing, you know, shady shit to benefit him, and to, you know, not give a fuck about other people's rights or other people's, you know, how they're harmed or their feelings or anything. That's what it comes off to me in totality when you look at the many choices they made, the initial things that he did plus the reaction to them, and then the language of accountability being used is what really also pisses me off. The whole, you know, I'm, you know, gonna do what I can to be accountable. It's like, well, I thought you were gonna take time off of YouTube, first of all. And then that turned into, like you said, what, 3 days that he's
3
like,
days. It was like at that, and he was still on social media while he was quote unquote taking a break, like responding to people.
let me tell you,
Apparently, he was still doing it in his Discord too. Someone said he was still in his Discord having conversations with people.
as somebody
So
who considers myself when I was much younger to be, kind of a shitty guy, I can tell you from firsthand experience that you don't become accountable and then you don't change those types of behaviors overnight, and just because you're changing the type of content you're doing, right?
right.
So fucking disingenuous, but it does lead us to we'll talk about the sinister part of it later. This is what I wanted to talk about as far as him just not having a firm grasp of even what he was doing. So get this guy off there. It's good to see Jordan Peterson being coherent. I definitely feel a huge weight off my shoulders now that I won't be contributing to the culture war with my content going forward.
Red flag in the first sentence. Big red flag in that first
thing I've
sentence.
realized now regarding the culture war is that it doesn't really seem to truly fix any problems completely. Sure, there's benefits to pointing out problems and explaining them, but I feel that that ends up not really always being what happens with the culture war itself, as much as it actually creates more division and strife. So I had messaged him last night, and this is the main thing that really, I was once again trying to be, look, I wasn't going to be friendly with him, but I was going to offer him one more tip. And that's, you use this phrase unironically in the context that really it's, if you don't recognize that this culture war term, using it this way is just what conservative far right propagandists have drudged up to distract people from the fucking looting and all the other shit that they're doing of our country. That's what the culture war represents. It doesn't represent an actual culture war that's real. It's not real. It is real in the sense that, in the same way that like Russia and Ukraine are at war, right?
Yeah.
Or the same way that, Israel and Gaza are at war. It's like, yeah, there is conflict there, but one side has perpetuated it, and one side has caused far more harm, and one side has created false pretenses for the whole thing. And that's just what it is. And if you don't recognize that about this content, you shouldn't have ever been talking about this stuff.
I also want to point out the word that, like, culture war, that term, of course, stands out to me. That was the big red flag.
Yeah.
But the word contributing, that also made me kind of roll my eyes a little bit.
Yeah.
So he's been doing this now for several months, almost a year, I think, that he's been doing this. And you consider what you were doing or what he was doing contributing to the culture war? That's what he thinks his content was? He doesn't think that he was fighting back against these guys or trying to do the right thing or any of that. He considers what he was doing contributing to some sort of online trend. He can't, that's an incorrect way to look at it. Right. In both perspectives, in my opinion.
I struggle to understand why he would choose to do that in the first place now, because like, I know me personally, I got over my fucking debilitating fear of public speaking. And, I was so fucking terrified of making videos originally, but I knew I felt I had something I could offer. And so I started doing it. And I know you came from a place of like, this wasn't something that you just started doing because it was convenient or anything. It was actually not convenient for you. And you're like, I feel that I need to do this. And another thing, look, the student has surpassed the master at this point, but like, there was a point when, you were asking me to help understand some of these things. And
I wouldn't be where I was now if you hadn't pointed things out to me. Like, starting out, my entire foundation is based on the knowledge that you had already amassed from doing this, because you were doing it before I was. So
yeah. So I mean,
Noah didn't really reach out to anybody. I think he started doing it on his own, and then sort of just picked up stuff along the way, as far as I can tell. So
it just boggles my mind to understand why you would start covering this stuff if you just thought that you were just doing one side of an morally equal war. Like, both sides are just as bad. They're both just doing a war, culture war. It sucks. Like,
yeah, the both sides stuff really, really piss me off. It says creates more division and strife.
And if he thinks that. I feel bad for him. If he's had a lot more views than I have. He's had, got more subs than me. If he's never gotten the kind of emails that I've gotten about people that appreciate, him doing this, and he doesn't really see the benefit to it, then that sucks for him, man. But I've gotten some emails that were literally the fucking fuel in my veins to keep going.
Well, I said my video, just like in my comment section, at least once or twice a week, I'll get someone saying, like, even today, I saw comments under a Critical Drinker video where someone talked about breaking away from Critical Drinker. And so we see the effects of this. Like we see it in their like these larger channels are not untoppable. Like we're seeing the effects of this on YouTube right now. These guys are having problems. Their channels are not doing well, regardless. Like the bigger they are, the harder they fall. So when you see the big ones start to come down, you know there's an issue. Quartering is experiencing this right now for doing something similar to what Noah did, and he's getting completely destroyed because of that.
I mean, yeah, it's just like, I don't know, man. It frustrates me to think that that he's been doing this for, I don't know, I guess. Yeah, okay, so like nothing ever, it doesn't solve the problems completely. No, what like you're never going to do that. You know, as you
We
said,
never said that, Dane. Have you ever thought that what we were doing was going to solve every problem in this?
well, I mean, I'll be honest.
space?
When I first started, I was pretty naive. When I literally first started, I was like, all I got to do is get on there and say these facts that they aren't aware of, and I will cut through the bullshit. You know, of course, I learned pretty quick that was silly, but yeah, for the vast majority of my time, I never thought that I was gonna take down all of the chuds or whatever. And it's like, even if you're pivoting to autism content, do you think that you're gonna solve all the problems with autism with your content? No. It's just a fucking stupid way to look at it, and I think this is just more cope. Anyway, so I messaged him last night, and I said, "Hey man, you know, I know that you are trying to move on, and I support that, respect that, and I hadn't spoken to him since this stuff came out. I just kicked him out of our server and just said the reason was for unethical practices, and hadn't said anything. So, you know, I was like, hey, I know you're trying to move on, but I'm going to tell you that this, maybe you don't realize this, but culture war, the way that you're using it here, you're unironically using it in service of far right narratives. And if you don't realize that, okay, but I'm just going to say that you should probably maybe stop saying it. Maybe because if you're trying to move on and you keep saying this term like this, I can promise you myself and probably others are going to start focusing on you again. You know what I mean? Like, didn't mean it to be a threat, but that's kind of just what it is. You know, I'm like, I'd love to not talk about you. You know what I'm saying? But like, if you're going to start paying lip service to the fucking culture war and both sides shit, then yeah, I'm probably going to talk, I'm gonna make some content about you. So it's not a good way to move on. And he, you know, did the thing he does where he's like, oh no, I didn't realize that. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. And I guess I could show the DMs. I'll read them. That's what I'll do. Because I haven't got them like cropped or anything, but
right.
I basically said, hey dude, if you're interested in having an accurate understanding of what the culture war is, I'd be happy to help you out. Short version is a far right narrative term that represents the tactic of distracting people from social strife like race baiting, anti-trans stuff, etc. So they get away with looting the country and such. In other words, you framing it this way is the same as defending and supporting the ideology used by the very guys you made content criticizing. Not a huge deal, but if it becomes a repeated thing, you'll probably have a lot of folks making critical content on you who I'm sure you'd rather moved on from you. I know myself and others were not viewing you as necessarily a bad person, but you know, a person who made bad choices. And I have hope that you'll thrive going forward. But this sort of language, being supportive of antisocial rhetoric, would not allow you to grow and to do better. Take care. Okay. I felt that was pretty as neutral as I could. And he was like, okay, sorry, that's not what I was trying to imply. I meant more so I was wanting to get back into discussing autism representation. I'll be completely honest. I really suck at wording things in a way that doesn't come off poorly when I'm stressed, I feel like. I apologize for how I worded that. And it's like, no, how you worded is not the problem. It's your understanding of what you're talking about. You don't have one, really. You have the superficial understanding of it, that it actually is beneficial to the chuds you criticized for you to look at it and talk about it this way. To adopt things on their terms and to adopt their narratives as if they're just true. You're already starting off on the back foot big time. You know what I mean? I know, but and I appreciate you giving me the definition of the culture war. Should I edit that post or something? I'm worried that it'll lead to people thinking I'm being dishonest. And I'm
wait, hold on for a second. He's already been dishonest multiple times. Like, calling him a liar isn't really a misstatement. He's been he's taken quote unquote accountability for it, but he has been a liar multiple times in the last 2 months.
I mean, technically, plagiarism is just kind of a lie, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want people to think I'm dishonest. You are dishonest.
Yep.
You are. That's the issue. That's why you should have taken more time away from YouTube.
And whatever it is that is motivating you, Noah, if you see this, man, if whatever it is that's motivating you to make these choices that are like, I'm gonna do this kind of shady thing because it's whatever. Like, I don't know if you think you're better than people, if you think you're smarter than everybody, if you think that people are like kind of just your plaything to, I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe you're not thinking about it at all. Maybe it's just kind of something learned behavior that you've developed from whatever shit you've dealt with in life. That's possible too. But that's the thing you have to work on. And that's the reason why I don't think taking 3 fucking days and then pivoting to just a different type of content is going to do any good. And that's the reason I felt the need to come out here and let people know that your problems that you have, man, it's clear to me are more than just you made a couple of mistakes. There are foundational issues that you need to work on, that you need to take time to work on. And until you do, you will probably continue doing these types of things in some way, shape, or form. And just because I've seen it, I've known different types of toxic people in my life and shit. And yeah, so that's,
my thing, Dane, is also, he says here at the end, not to jump ahead here, but he talks about advocacy for autistic people. Great. I'm 100% for that. I will support that content if that's truly what he wants to do. Go ahead and make that content.
I believe he's being dishonest. If he's got an honesty issue, like if he's got just kind of a habitual, kind of compulsive way about him that causes him to make these choices for whatever reason to avoid accountability and to get one over, then I think he's just putting himself in front of an audience that is actually vulnerable to manipulative people. That's exactly
Well, what I meant by that is not that I would like shout him out and like tell people to go subscribe to him. I meant like if it takes him away from doing the other content, go do it. Like I'll support that. Like go do something else. But like you said, I would much rather someone that is in his position. I would much rather him take more time away. He says he doesn't need to do YouTube. He's got another job. It's his actual job. YouTube is not going to be a big thing for him apparently moving forward. You can afford to take some time away and really reflect on what you've done, because he made it seem in his apology video that making the videos calling out the bad behavior was the problem.
Right.
That's what he said. He didn't apologize for just the behavior that he had. He apologized for ever making the videos in the first place. And the issue isn't the content. It's all of the stuff that he did behind the scenes. The content was never the problem. And he made 37 videos over 12 months. So he's been doing it right now. He's been doing it a little over 11 months, or he was doing it a little bit over 11 months. And he had a video made and ready to get released when all of this came out, meaning there was no reflection on any of this until he got caught.
And that's why it's alarming. He's saying the things that he's saying, which superficially are what you should do. He's like, I recognize that I hurt people. Here's the people I hurt and all that. That's like definitely one aspect of being accountable, but that is not all of it. And also the context of doing it in such a quick and also almost in the same breath saying, well, it's also the content I was doing that made me, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're not actually taking accountability. You're paying lip service to it. And I don't know if he realizes that or if he's just kind of.
Well, you got to put in the work. Like the first step is acknowledging and taking accountability. That's literally the first thing you do. And then there's work you have to do to fix the problems that you created. He's not going to do that. He said he's just going to pivot to something else.
Here's the thing that's really uncomfortable about this type of scenario. And it's a quote that, I came up with this from a song I wrote. But it says the weight of guilt and the stink of shame are exactly the medicine you need. And that's what's really hard to deal with whenever you fucked up like this is like, oh, I've got to live with this actually, and not try to fight against it and fight against the perception of it and try to get people to not completely abandon me because, like that's not what you should be doing. You got to let people make the choice they're going to make based on the information that they now know. Right. Mm-hmm. Don't try to soften the information for them. Don't try to say, well, it was also this other thing. It's not my fault. And so that's what I actually told him further in those DMs yesterday. I said, let's see. So it does come off like the problem you had was the type of content you were doing, which kind of undermines the post I saw from you that I liked a lot, where you were taking full accountability. That accountability post made me hopeful. And I think lots of people view it the same way. Once someone starts blaming outside forces for their mistakes, it makes it harder to trust them. You said originally you take some time off and then focus on autism, which I'm hoping you take the time to fully integrate the lessons learned, because otherwise I'd be slightly concerned with you representing autism and then parentheses, I'm autistic, in case it hadn't said that.
Mhm.
To me, unless you keep making it clear the errors you made and the ways that you're working to do better, or if you start blaming other factors, it's going to seem like you're just changing content genres to escape accountability. And he said, oh no, okay, yeah, that's definitely not what I was trying to imply. Should I edit it or delete it or something? And I just didn't respond to him again, but
Yeah.
because I'm like, look, man,
Another thing, Dane, is it's so many red flags here. Another one that's a red flag to me is it seems he makes decisions based on other people telling him to do stuff.
Yes.
Like, this whole plagiarism thing, I guess Ant helped him with I think he confirmed it was 2 scripts that he got from him, and that was it. But he's, I think he's tried to help him. I think Ant really wanted to help Noah through all of this. Birdman was sort of helping him out. Then apparently Kinoflex, who is a Chud guy that became friends with him, and then all of that went down, and then he threw him under the bus. Like he made friends with this guy that was criticizing him. The guy was trying to give him good advice to fix the issues, standing up for him, and he threw him under the bus. It's like he doesn't make any decisions for himself other than lying.
In his video, he said something about he apologized to Birdman too. I was like, what happened with Birdman?
Birdman reached out to him in private, I guess, to find out the details of this false flagging before he made a video about it or talked about it. Or that's what I heard is that Birdman had direct contact with Noah, and Noah wasn't honest with him either. So it's shocker. Like, I know people want me to put on kid gloves for this, but I'm not. Like, this guy has lied about a ton of shit.
I went ahead and screenshotted this. I want everybody to know that I'm not just kind of making stuff up or anything. I was reading verbatim from our conversation there.
Yeah.
And
also the end, I've reached out privately to Deuce as well to see if there's anything I can do for her. Like,
right.
You talked her into committing a crime. I don't think he understands that false DMCAs, it's criminal. You can't do that.
Him mentioning that some people have forgiven him, some people haven't, and then some other, like, that shouldn't be something you even discuss right now, because it doesn't matter. You should not be concerned whether or not somebody's forgiving you right now. That's not your fucking concern. That's all on them. That's the thing you leave someone whenever you betray their trust or harm them. That's the fucking weight that you put on somebody, is that they have to determine this shit for themselves. And you trying to like imply that, oh, I hope they forgive me or whatever. It's like, sorry, man, that's really not the way this goes. And I know when I was younger, I didn't understand that, and I would try to win back a girlfriend that I said something shitty to or something like that. You know what I mean? And like, now I'm older, I understand that. Look, once you fuck up, if you hurt somebody, if you've betrayed, whatever it is, now it is completely in their hands. And yeah, I don't know.
Well, also, I want to make it clear, I have had zero contact with Noah. I've never talked with him privately. We've never, I don't think we even follow each other. There was really no contact other than the one time he jumped on the showcast with us, and we did like a stream that's like a couple months ago. Where he was on, and that's the only personal interaction I've ever had with Noah. I
emailed him. I messaged him, like, I added him to our server, so there's a couple of messages in there like, hey, you want to join today or whatever, and that kind of thing. But it's I kept him at arm's length because that's just how I generally do people.
There was that other guy that we talked to that ended up also being unhinged. I can't remember fucking his name. He was from Canada. Spider-Man profile picture on Twitter. I don't remember his name. Minute News or something like that. Was that what it was?
Oh, right. Yeah. No, what that guy did was he just, he came on our stream to talk about his viral nerdrotic Twitter, thread or whatever, that kind of just covered a lot of the same ground we've all covered with him. And then as soon as the stream was over, even while he was still on stream, somebody messaged him and, was repeating the shit that Nerdette's newsstand was smearing me with or whatever. And he just, was not aware that that's a stupid fucking thing to believe, just, and that was obviously somebody trying to stop him from gaining alliances, essentially. That's the thing. This is what really fucking chaps my ass. The kind of shit that has been thrown at me doing this content. I've never fucking copyright stricken somebody. right?
Right.
I've never fucking gotten sure. Sometimes they hit a nerve. Sometimes the stuff they say, gains a little traction, and then I hear it from various chuds and stuff in comments, and it pisses me the fuck off because I know it's not true or it's a misrepresentation of things or whatever. But that's what they're trying to do. Whenever they do that, is to smear me or to discredit me, whatever. I've never fucking taken some action like that, right? And he did it when they were literally just telling the truth about him.
Right.
At least in that, he was plagiarizing. That's mainly what seemed that triggered him to do the copyright strike, right? Or get his friend to do it rather. And it's like, man, you definitely probably shouldn't have been making this content if that's how thin your fucking armor is. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have a bit of a thick hide. Because they're gonna, if you're any kind of effective at this type of thing, they're gonna come at you. They're gonna say some fucked up shit. They're gonna try to, get between you and friends and whatnot.
Also want to point out that if you are not, how do I put this? If you're not capable of dealing with multiple people putting pressure on you about stuff, don't go into live streams with like 5 other chuds by yourself. Like, you're not me. First of all, so don't do that, because it's just going to make you look really bad. And when I saw that first video where he admitted to plagiarism, I got sort of the feeling that there was something happening, something was going on, because he seemed to be, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but something felt off about it. And everybody that's watching now, or anybody that's watching this video later on, there was a point right before that happened where, and this isn't really a big secret, it was mentioned on Twitter, so it's not a huge secret, but Anthony, Birdman, myself, some other guys, we were going to do something together. We didn't know what it was going to be, but there was something that we were working on, and Noah was going to be a part of that. And then the plagiarism stuff happened, and that put a stop to that entire process, to the point where we just decided not to move forward at all, because we were waiting for to find out if this plagiarism thing was real. And while we were doing that, he was on live streams with these guys admitting to doing it, admitting to all the stuff that happened. So that put a complete break to that. We were literally, and I'm not kidding you, probably less than a few days away from doing some event together, like something together as a group. And then we would have been locked in with Noah, who is now proven to be a liar.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, I guess in that regard, like, it sucks because, you're close, but you were close enough to not get stuck into it.
well, I'm just the thing about it is
that does not create or make it impossible for the rest of you to try and do that, because I'd love to see that shit.
Well, I think it would be, it would be fun, but I mean, I think this is a kind of a lesson for everybody, is that it's hard to determine sometimes the motivations of someone when they're not being 100%. And I think when you have people that are out here making content, not being honest, and then criticizing actual like dishonesty that we see publicly, and then they get exposed for this, it makes our entire community, it brings into question everything that everybody does. And I'm seeing it happen right now. It's happening under videos that I've been on. It's happening on Reddit. It's happening on Twitter. Like every time he makes a statement, every time he does one of these things, he is just giving more ammunition to those guys to question the credibility of other people that are also out here debunking and pointing the stuff out.
I mean, yes, and that's understandable to a degree. At the same time, I would just say that some of us have a long track record of making the kind of content that we make, and not swaying one way or the other, and not being it just, I mean, obviously there's never any telling, right? There's never truly knowing for sure. You have to just make the best call you can. And I was trying to think of, like, what is the way? Is there a way that I could articulate to help people at least get an idea of whether somebody is worth putting any trust into at all? Because, and I mean, just like even watching their videos, not and it's difficult because
it really is difficult. But this goes down to, like, when we talk about patterns of behavior and stuff like that, the issue with this situation is you had someone that wasn't doing any of this publicly. All of this was going on behind the scenes. So there's no pattern to follow until they got caught, which is, again, leads us right back to what we were saying.
Well, I'll say this.
He would have continued making this content if he never got caught.
I think that there's probably some truth to what he said whenever he said it a couple times now in different places now, that when he's feeling stressed and he's got kind of a lot of pressure on him, he makes bad choices. And he at least recognizes that. And I think there's probably some truth to that. And I think that, and this is, maybe being more charitable than I should be. No, it doesn't change the fact that I don't think anybody should give this guy your trust. Okay. But, I think that, like you were saying earlier, I think you started to say something about this. He is very much influenced by what others think of him. And that is a sign of deep insecurity. And I'm not like trying to shit on him for saying that. I used to have a very similar, situation. And that's why I'm saying that, like, the kind of time that needs to happen for him to actually have absorbed, integrated the lessons learned here and actually made the change and growth happen that needs to fucking happen. It's not going to matter what kind of content you make. The problem's still going to be there. It's going to take a while. It's not something you can just like, next week I'll do different content and everything will be fine. That's not the way that this works, in my opinion. This is a deep-rooted, deep-seated kind of thing that he needs to work on with himself. Why does he feel the need to? Why does he have to be validated to the degree that, like, for instance, back up a little bit. I think that he started plagiarizing as a shortcut for making videos because he was like, oh shit, these videos are really popular and I got to keep cranking them out. Right. And it's hard to fucking make videos. You know what I mean? Like, and believe me, I look for shortcuts whenever I can. I try not to do them that actually involve fucking somebody over, but like, if there's a way to, make the process a little smoother, easier. Yeah. But I think that he just started making choices that not considering or maybe even being fully aware of what he was doing, being shitty towards somebody else in the context of plagiarism. And then because he got caught, he made more choices that were just like, I don't want people to look at me badly. I don't want people to think badly of me. That's what these messages that he said to me last night were about. Essentially, is like, oh, I don't want people to think that. I don't want people to think that. You can't control what people are thinking about you right now, Noah. You need to recognize that what people are thinking about you is based on your actions. Okay, and the only difference between a chud and anybody else is a chud doesn't fucking take accountability, true accountability. They don't actually integrate the lessons. They've harmed somebody and they need to fucking correct some issues in their behavior in order to move forward. That's what a chud doesn't do. And they stay chuds. So yeah, I don't know if there's a way to really spot that before it's too late.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we just need to be more, I don't know, aware of signs, I guess, and things like that when it comes to this kind of stuff. I never cozied up with him anyway, because I don't try to operate on vibes. I think vibes are probably not the right way to do things, but I always got a feeling that there was something there that I just it wasn't connecting for me. But that was me personally. Everybody else, like Ant was talking to him, other people were talking to him. So I felt like I was the odd person out. I just was like, well, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the one.
I might go back and listen to that stream we did with him, because I don't remember what it was, but there was a couple of things that were mentioned that, we're just talking and stuff. And like, for the most part, he was able to, understand what we were talking about and references and stuff like that about chuds or whatever. And there's a couple of things that now in hindsight, I'm thinking, if I go back and look at them, probably are directly related to like him not understanding what the culture war means. Right. Like that kind of thing, where he doesn't really have a full grasp of what he's actually criticizing. And he's just kind of making content about these guys because, and here's the shitty thing, he might've just been making content about those guys because it's a way to deflect from his shittiness. You know what I mean? Like, and that's this is the same reason that, like, fucking Trump supporters will call people groomers and pedophiles and stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, where you at now? These Epstein files, you know what I'm saying? They do that because it's the only thing that they can point to that's worse than them in some cases. And it just makes them feel like they're not bad people to do that. Anyway, I'm kind of fucking, I'm just pissed. And I really fucking hope that he doesn't like swerve into autism content, because I've already seen a couple of people like on Reddit and in his community that really latched onto him as being somebody who represents autism. And that is a good thing. I've seen a couple of the videos I've watched where he talked about it. I even agree with what he's saying. I agree about his reasoning for like his analysis of why, for instance, what was it? Not specific autistic characters, but autism coded characters tend to resonate more with autistic people than the ones that are actually autistic, right? In movies and stuff. I agree with that. It's good stuff, but like you shouldn't be in the head of a community and have a Discord and have direct access to people if this is the way you treat your fucking friends. You know what I mean? And people who are
I need to remind people he deceived somebody he considers a good friend with Deuce because Deuce, in good faith of what Noah had told her, went and did what Noah said. And he knew that it was wrong when he did it because that's why he got her to do it. We have to understand, put all this together. He knew it was, regardless of what he says in his video, he knew that it was wrong, which is why he didn't do it himself. He made someone else do it.
Whenever he was first called out on it, he tried to lie about it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then whenever he was at risk of having one person involved email somebody else, and he realized, oh no, they might realize that I'm giving two different narratives. He tried to circumvent that. And that's what this is actually. I want to make this point because that was the thing that made me realize this is a tactic. So him choosing to do that live stream about the plagiarism, it worked on me. I was like, you wouldn't do that if you actually thought he was being, doing plagiarism, right? Nobody would do that to themselves. No, he did. That's exactly what he does. He puts it right out in the open because he wants people to think that exact thing that I thought. So, for example, the email that he, what was it? I don't remember the names involved. Calesto, I think. And
Calesto, yeah. That was the channel.
Who the other one was. But basically, he said, you should email them. And
Wargaming Dad was the person that he was.
And then he emails that, or that's the other person, they're going to try and email you. I would just ignore it.
Right.
That is a fucking tactic. It's a pretty bold tactic, honestly. And that kind of underlines what I'm trying to say here is that he seems willing to, kind of take risks at exposing himself, exposing his bullshit. And that makes me think he's been successful with that in his life before. Probably quite a bit. You know what I mean?
Well, but like if you look at the way he responded to your DM, you know what I mean? If you look at that, I'm not saying that he's always being deceptive when he pretends that he doesn't understand something or he's making bad decisions. But let's look at what he did behind the scenes compared to what he says he doesn't understand in public. So behind the scenes, he made that video about bad faith criticism. It got like 250,000 views on his channel. He realized that he couldn't keep up the output for those types of videos himself. So he tried to use a shortcut by going in and taking content from other people and taking their script and carefully changing one or two words when he was reading it. If you go back and you look at the claims of plagiarism, he didn't do it exactly word for word every time. He changed a couple of words here and there. That is what someone who understands plagiarism does to avoid getting called plagiarist. So right away I was like, that's weird. You didn't understand what plagiarism was, but you did change words. Like if he would have read their script word for word with no changes and then said, oh, my bad, I didn't understand that was plagiarism, I would go, okay, well, maybe he didn't because he didn't bother to change anything. But no, he changed some of that dialogue slightly so that it did not seem like he was copying them word for word. He cropped the videos in certain ways to make sure that it didn't look exactly like their videos. That is a level of deception. That means that he understood what he was doing. Also with his friend, telling his friend to go and do something that he knew he shouldn't do anyway because he knew that it was wrong, and then telling them, like manipulating them outside of that, going, don't respond to emails, don't respond to messages, tells me that he also knew that was wrong when he did it.
That he literally did that because someone made a video calling out the thing he'd already admitted to and been exposed for. Somebody made a video like, what the fuck, dude? You're right. When you really put these things in context, it's hard not to see him as just somebody that should not be trusted at all. Because
and let's not forget recording someone without their consent, and then also getting caught for that and having to admit that as well. So that's another thing.
So all of that, doing all that plagiarism, and all, as Eric just brilliantly pointed out, all of that has to be intentional. There's no way to do that accidentally. I'm sorry, there's not. You can't golly gee whiz, I didn't know better, out of that. And then on top of it to go, I'm going to get my friend who's naive to what the situation is about copyright strikes, doesn't really do YouTube stuff. And I know that this is a bad thing to do. And I know that I really don't have a claim about this. There's not actually a reason to do this, except this person has told the truth about me. I understand that channel's a chud. I understand there might be some other crap in there, whatever, that I would definitely disagree with. But in the regards of the plagiarism on the thumbnail and that being the thing that I guess at least the bulk of the video was about, that is true. He fucking did that. He acknowledged it. He claimed to be accountable for it. And instead of being actually fucking accountable, he started copyright striking.
Yes.
So this is what he does when he's accountable, and that to me says that. And then the language he's using, like in his video, I've got your video here. I was going to watch it, but thankfully you're here. But like the language was really fucking rubbing me the wrong way because it's exactly what someone should say, more or less, if they're actually trying to be accountable. And then, but he's also clearly not actually fucking being accountable. God damn, it's pissed me off.
There's more to it, Dane. There's more to it. You ready for another one?
Yeah.
His friend Deuce isn't really a YouTuber. So he purposely picked someone that wouldn't be easy to find so that person would be harder for them to get in touch with when all this went down.
That is another angle of that. I just said that what I meant was like that he picked someone who's naive to the YouTube. Yeah. I mean, so there's the function.
Yeah. So he understood the assignment. He's like, if you look at this objectively and you think about why certain steps were made, it really does make sense. Like the only thing that Noah didn't account for was that Wargaming Dad and these other people would try and get in touch with Deuce. That was the one piece of the puzzle that he didn't actually account for. He thought, if I tell them that this person isn't on YouTube and that, they probably don't understand copyright, he didn't think the extra step to like what the next thing would be that they would do. He's like, well, maybe they'll just give up. Maybe they won't try and reach out to that person. But then you saw his response to Wargaming Dad tells me that at that point, that was the scrambling moment. That was I didn't think about this part. That was what that was. So his issue is that he tried to do this by getting someone that wasn't directly connected to YouTube. Like you said, somebody that would have fallen for this. No disrespect to Deuce. I don't know them, but clearly they trusted Noah enough to do it and then put them in a position.
Trying to trust somebody that's spent time earning your trust, or at least, it's just makes them a victim. The thing is that if your response to being called out for doing something that fucks somebody else over or harms somebody else, and your response to that is to try to scramble to save your own fucking ass, that's not good. I understand being panicked. I understand being like, oh no, I fucking hurt somebody, and then like, okay, well, then what are you gonna do about it for them? Not what are you gonna do about it for yourself? You know what I mean? We don't expect people to be perfect. Like we said, Ant decided to help him out, take at face value that maybe he didn't understand plagiarism. I supported Ant in doing that. I said, yeah, man, I don't see why not, and made us both look like fools. Made Ant feel really foolish. And that harms this community of, you literally had Ant Grimuglia as somebody who I've respected for quite some time, and like long before he's ever was making videos, right? I used to read his stuff. I've known who he was for a long time, and whenever I've learned that he knew who I was, that was one of the fucking proudest moments of my, doing YouTube, is he DM'd me to ask if I wanted to be part of talking about Comicsgate in a video, because, it would seem foolish to not reach out to me about that. And I was like, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was fucking big deal for me. So like, to have him offer to help you and to fucking just be like, I'm not really going to actually take the help. I'm just going to take the I guess the perception of getting help from somebody like that, the clout that comes along with that, and Birdman, these larger creators, to, use that to kind of massage my image back into, just make people forget that I kind of did some shitty things. It's what it seems like was going on. The more I think about it, the more it pisses me off. The more we talk about it, the more it pisses me off. And yeah, I'm glad you got on here, man.
Yeah, I didn't want to like jump on and take the win out of yourselves. I wasn't sure what you were going to do, but I just wanted to talk about it a little bit.
It's really not. I don't like that I had to do this. I felt the need to do this. This is my son's birthday day.
Yeah. Well, happy birthday to your son.
He said so. I mean, we had to go to bed about 20-30 minutes from the time I was starting, so that otherwise would have been spent that time with him. But there
is a positive to this though, because it's the first time I've been able to jump on stream with you since it's like a month and a half. So that's a good thing.
I mean, I have hardly been streaming myself. We did, I think, 1 or 2 showcasts since the last time.
The last one I saw was like, I was at work. I had been at work for like 2 hours, and then you guys went live. I was like, holy shit, this is a late showcast for me. I would have never been able to make that.
I am confident that there's probably some chuds that think that we're bitter enemies now. You know what I mean?
Oh, probably. I don't know. I feel like it's, the funny thing about it is I've explained it every time I do my early streams, like in the middle of the afternoon. I'm like, go watch the showcast, go support those guys. But then there's always someone that comes in and it's like, what's happening? What happened? You're no longer on there. And I'm just like, I just don't have time to do it.
It's probably something really dramatic. You know,
Yeah.
that's why.
I do want to jump in when I get a chance though. My schedule should shift again, like in the summer when when it gets a little warmer and stuff like that. But
Honestly, like the fact that we were able to get together most weeks consistently as we did for as long as we have been able to is kind of a fucking miracle in itself. Like we're adults, you know what I mean? Like we don't have a bunch of free time to just do shit that's not for family or work, right?
I will say regarding Noah in this situation, the growth of the woke to anti-woke pushback that we've seen over the last probably we say like a year and a half maybe now at this point, where it's just been people kind of coming along and stuff like that. You're gonna end up with someone that's gonna stumble through it. Like that's just inevitable. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know when it was gonna happen, but I felt like we're gonna have someone that's gonna get involved and it's gonna be a problem.
The thing that challenged with me was, so one of the ways that if I came across somebody, people in our little group will share a video when they come across a new person who's doing anti-chud content, and then if I watch the video and I'm like, okay, that's pretty good, then I'll go look for how long they've been doing that. And so essentially the filter I've been using for whether I invite somebody on the showcast or not is if they just put out one video or whatever, I'm like usually like, I'm gonna wait and see what else they do. I want to see that this is something they've committed themselves to, that they understand, on some, basic level anyway. And before I, kind of invite them into the fold and whatnot. And that's the thing, is he passed that filter. He had enough videos that seemed to be, critical and the right ways for the most part, that I was like, I mean, I didn't really like his approach to content, but if he's getting results, that's all that really matters. And yeah, so now that I realize that that's not even a foolproof filter.
No, it's not anymore. That's kind of what I was trying to say earlier. I just didn't really have a way to articulate it. But yeah, I don't think there's any sort of test when it comes to this kind of stuff. With the chuds, as long as you're willing to say the things they're saying, they will invite you in. And the minute you do something that is against what they're saying, like if you challenge any of their positions or whatever, they're going to kick you to the curb. That's their standard. That's the way it operates for those guys. It's like they really, as long as you're saying the shit, they don't care what you do. We've seen it happen multiple times.
Happen very often is because they make money doing it. Whereas we really kind of don't, not like that.
Right. So we're looking for community. Like we want people, like I said in my video, if you're going to get involved in this, the allyship, and this is something that I remember from back in the 90s when, pride events were going on. And an ally has to be comfortable in tough situations, and they have to be willing to take the same amount of criticism that people that they're taking up for would take. For example, if you're a man and you're defending women, you have to realize that you should also be willing to take the same criticism as the community that you're sticking up for. So that's the kind of people that I like to fuck with when it comes, not literally fuck, but like, you know what I mean? Fuck. The people I fuck with in this community are people that I know are willing to stand up for other marginalized people. And that's really my main standard. I didn't think ever that we would have someone, and I guess this is naive of me, that would come in. It's not the plagiarism part, because I'm sure the plagiarism stuff, there's probably lots of people on YouTube that do that. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying that it's probably a lot of people that do that. The copyright strike thing is the thing where it's like, for me, I never thought we would have someone in our community that would cross that line, because that is a line that once you do that, you open yourself up and other people up to getting hit with false copyright claims. Even Ant has talked about it. He got false copyright claims against him a while ago.
It takes 3 and your channel's gone. They will just eat it. They'll fucking eat you from YouTube. And look, I'm somebody that's kind of, been friendly with a man named Matt Jarbo in the past. And so I've heard quite a bit about what happens whenever you do, false copyright strikes and stuff, because he's very, very infamous for that. And
that was who I was talking about in my video when I said that I know people who have that have done this and haven't been able to recover. Like Matt Jarbo, people know who he is, but he was one of these guys that was like on the upswing in criticism, in that community. And then all of that happened, and it immediately took the wind out of his sails. So we know people that have done this. We're seeing it happen to the quartering right now. I don't think why Noah thinks he's going to be any different for him.
So right here, he can't do anything with, like, this is objectively, like, I'm cool. I'm glad that Jarbo has developed a sense of a moral sense of what's right. He's got a daughter now. So, I mean, I've talked to him about this plenty, and I believe he's definitely not the same guy that he was back when he was making
Right.
more TV content, but he's still got this fucking albatross of the mistakes he made there. Whenever he started kind of pivoting out of that content and he made enemies, and then he decided he was going to handle it this way, and he got exposed for that. And now he can't say anything to somebody like Mahler without it being brought up. The Boulder thing, the Boulder King, that's a reference to, that's such a specific reference.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know.
I know what it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Originally tried to claim that he was out on, I don't know, hunting for rocks or some shit like that. Whenever the supposedly flags happened, it was a lame ass attempt to lie. And he readily admits that. That's the thing. That's a perfect example of somebody who, Matt Jarbo will sit there and tell you where he fucked up, and he will fucking make fun of himself for doing it, and he will, tell you what he learned from it and stuff like that. And that's, I always respected the guy to a degree.
Yeah, I also want to point out, so Matt Jarbo is a really good example of what you can do or what you attempt to do when you're in the situation Noah's in, which is why in my video I was saying everything that he says he's going to do is pretty transparent. Like like you want to rebrand, you want to pivot, you want to get away from this because you don't want it following you around. But the issue is it's always going to follow you around. You're not going to get away from this. It's the internet. Like people are going to remember this forever. You're going to be the person that was flagging people with false DMCAs.
I've done rebrands before, right? Like I've rebranded my channel name several times because I just feel like I've tried different things eventually. But like, it's never me trying to hide from what I've done. All my content's still up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't try to make it any, like the reason by the way, I changed from actual fandom to Dane AF is just because I started feeling like that people who expected my channel to just be about fandom were getting disappointed by other stuff like politics and stuff involved. And then as well as people that, I don't know. I just felt like it was time to be a little bit more vague in my name so that
also to talk about the Jarbo thing quickly though, I just thought about this. Yeah. He's also someone that has taken enough time to really reflect on what he did. It wasn't 3 days. Like it was over years of time for Matt to really sort of understand the levity of what he's done. So for Noah to come back after like 3 days and go, I've reflected and this is what I'm going to do. Like, that's just not enough time for everything that you've done. Like,
that's somebody that has figured out the words that people expect to hear. And he's saying those words and that's it.
Yeah.
That's what I get from it. Noah, if you watch this, man, I just want to say this, what you do now is going to determine the person you're going to be. And you should not consider like, oh no, are people still going to like me? Or am I going to lose all my subs or my community or whatever? That should not be the concern. The concern should be what kind of person are you going to choose to be going forward? And are you the person that's going to do the work to, make the changes necessary to not actually let this stuff happen again? Because I promise you, without doing some work, something is going to happen. It may not be the exact same thing, but there's clear to me you have a compulsion to throw people under the bus, to save your own ass. To maybe it's a shame thing. There's some people that are very shame motivated. I've learned that, like, it's not really me, but like some people, they're so worried about being ashamed of something that they will do almost anything to not feel that shame, right? And I don't know if it's that, but you got to work on what's going on there, man. Anyway, sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah. No. It's like I don't have much advice. I'm just really disappointed in even having to address all of this, simply because I didn't really want to dive into the plagiarism stuff. I kind of acknowledged it on live streams, but I didn't make a big deal about it. But the striking thing really bothered me, which is why I talked about it a couple weeks ago in a video. And then after this weekend, I sat down today and I watched his apology video and his comment video. And I don't really have much to say in terms of what he should do. Like, I don't really have much advice in that regard. But I will say that I don't want that energy coming back into our space. Like I would prefer to just never get back into this community, please. If you can do one favor and show some real action to what you did, just stay away from this kind of content.
One thing I did, like I said at the beginning of this, whenever we first covered this on Showcast, I chose to go with a more positive angle and focus a bit on, we talked about all the stuff you did, but I was also like, the fact that this community has gotten to a point where something like this happens, which is bound to happen, like you said, and then the way it was responded to, like especially with Ant, showed real leadership. You know what I mean? There's no official hierarchy or anything, but Ant up and handled it, and salute to him for the way he handled it. That was really encouraging to me. As somebody who really wanted to bring some of these content creators together to, whatever degree we could do it. And I'm like, that's great. That tells me that this community is has got legs. It's got, it's kind of walking on its own now. You know what I mean? Which is good because I've been stepping away from it. And there's much larger creators involved now, and that's great. But I do want to go back to that now and also reiterate that I still believe that, even though all of the shit that we've said here about the details of Noah and stuff, it's all true. Yeah, I stand by all that. But I also think that, again, it would have happened to some degree or another. Somebody may happen again. I don't know. Hopefully not. But the fact that we were able to handle it without completely collapsing, which I don't know that. I mean, there was one time we almost did. I don't remember that. When some shit came up. It was kind of on the edge there, whether or not we were going to keep working together. I don't,
No. Yes. Yeah.
Out here, this was just like handling it like it needed to be handled. And that's one of the main reasons I wanted this community to be here is so that we can hold each other accountable, so that we can go after these chuds and maybe even make some fucking harsh criticisms and stuff. And if somebody steps over the line, which I kind of anticipated would be me, then I would have people around me that I trust your judgment and your morals and your ethics to go, hey, dang, not cool. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, like with the Noah situation, I do, like I said earlier, he got his one pass when he got caught plagiarizing, and people said, okay, show us that you're going to change, and there were obviously people who were never going to trust him again after that. And that's fair. But he had a lot of people that also wanted him to show that he could change and do better. And instead of fucking up and plagiarizing again, he doubled down and did something I would argue is even worse. So there's just, for me, there's no coming back for that.
It's almost the exact opposite of being actually accountable and changing. He saw someone, Chud or not, whatever, commenting on and criticizing him for the thing that he did, that he should have just been like, yep, I did that. I can't really say anything about it. I did it. You know what I mean? That should have been his response. But instead, he chose to attack it in a dishonest way, to throw a friend under the bus. And it's just, yeah. It's all been said,
Yeah.
Appreciate you getting on here, man. It's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad I could get on here. I didn't want to miss an opportunity because I saw that you were scheduled to go live, and I was like, this is my one night where I'm not really doing anything. So it was like literally the best opportunity for me.
I felt like I needed to say something, or I would have been just kind of stewing about it. And I will
I'll be honest, everybody in this space that disagrees with it should at least say something about it, because it is a big deal. I think it needs to be at least mentioned by people that are doing this.
I do understand that maybe if some people haven't absorbed all the details of it, because there's there's a few layers that if you don't fully grasp the totality of the situation, you might not realize that, like, oh yeah, I should say something. But it could just
anybody who I feel like is even loosely connected to Noah that takes the time to look at this, I think they should.
I was gonna also just make this known that, like, I as far as the autism thing goes, at this point, I don't have any faith that Noah is capable of being the head of a community with what, I don't know how many you have, 100 something. How many subscribers do you have? I forget, 44 something.
Yeah, I think it's in the 40s. I don't
feel confident that he is someone that should be trusted to have a community of his own right now. That he's able to, he's shown what he does to people that trust him. And I just, when it comes to the autism thing and representing that, I'm gonna make it one of my personal missions to make sure that people are aware of this going forward in the future. This is not gonna be the last time that I mention this, if he actually goes through with what he says he plans to go through. If you take the time and do the work, then we'll see how it goes then. But at this point, I feel a responsibility to warn of potential harm if I see the opportunity to do that. So
I also want to point out his subs. He's lost probably about 2K subs in the last 14 days. Oof. So people are,
He's got Eric Glad disease.
Yeah. Thankfully, we might not have to talk about him ever again. I feel like that's
we haven't even been able to talk about that, like, on your content, because I've watched that video of yours. It was kind of fucking out of nowhere and crazy.
Yeah,
like, he
deleted a bunch of videos, and he deleted like over 100,000 views worth of videos. So
look, if that's what it takes to get rid of him, I would really love to see that the Rippaverse not be able to gain a new footing and actually be more successful than it's become. I'd hate to see that happen, actually, but because he doesn't deserve it. No matter what, he's always built the Rippaverse on the shit that he built it on.
You want a spoiler alert for my video tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
Check out Melanie Matt Go Boom's channel. Just take a look at it. Go to Melanie Matt Go Boom. Look at her videos.
Okay.
I've got a video coming out tomorrow, but I just think it's kind of interesting. Let me make sure that it's still the same. Melanie Mac Go Boom, which is her main channel. If you go over there and you look at her videos, you'll notice she only has 11 videos on her channel now.
Weird. Yeah.
And she was demonetized.
Oh.
So there's some stuff going on with her. Apparently she's had issues with monetization, and she had her TikTok deleted recently.
Poor thing.
So yeah, I'm doing a whole video on it tomorrow. I there's a couple videos that I watched where I talked about this, but yeah, so she basically, I believe what I think, so this is just the gist of it. I think that for this part of the video, she probably got demonetized and she wasn't sure which videos were the offensive videos. So she went through and deleted everything prior to like 8 months ago and then had to reapply for monetization. So,
I mean, there's still obviously some homophobic stuff still here.
yeah, but I think she probably believes that she was flagged for stuff previous to her coming back to YouTube. That's what I think happened.
I see.
Because I think she was probably demonetized So my theory is, and I don't have proof of this, but I talk more about it in my video, and I'll explain it in my video. My theory is while she was gone, she got demonetized while she was away.
Yeah.
And then she came back and she was making content and she realized that she was demonetized. And so she went through and removed everything. Because where the video she has where she's like, I'm back or whatever, where I've been, I believe that's probably where she realized she was demonetized, because you have to wait a certain amount of days before you can reapply for monetization. It's usually like 60 or 90 days, I think.
Yes.
So I think she probably was, and now she's trying to make sure that she got rid of all of her previous videos. Also, I think she did it because she's going to bat for quartering, and she doesn't want people going back and looking through her videos for dirt on the quartering. That's kind of what I think is going on. I think it's a two-pronged
that video that's out there about him, giving advice to people about the content on their hard drives.
I don't know, but yeah, that's my video for tomorrow. I'm pretty excited. It's not a super long video. It's like 20 minutes or something, but I really thought about all of it, and Melanie Mac might be the next person that we're going to see less and less content from, because we're looking at her channel, her views, if she's not talking about quartering, are not good. So
let me I mean, that's great to hear. Always good news. I want to share this real quick. This is just happened to see this on Reddit earlier. Things have not looked good for this channel in quite some time, but that's pretty sad. Disney to remove Star Wars sequel trilogy from the timeline to resume focus on original characters. What? And this is just like a quote from who? Who fucking knows? You know what I mean?
It's from them.
Oh,
it's from that park place who runs their website. So they're quoting themselves. The source is them.
So this is the result of that thing that we talked about, where we're like, these brands are all failing. They're not doing well. They're coming together so they can fail harder together.
Right, because they can cite each other. Park Place can cite Geeks and Gamers can cite that Park Place, and then it's just like a human centipede of
never mind
information.
This is not gonna happen.
No.
It's just not gonna do it. They're not gonna just say, those movies that we made that we put all that money into and that actually have a large fandom, where those don't count anymore. Like, there's not gonna fucking happen. But nobody's gonna ever be accountable for it. So
exactly, that was my next. That's what I was just gonna say. Like, they can say all of this because if it ever actually happens, they'll just go, well, they must have changed their minds, because they're never going to admit they were wrong about any of this. This is why I actually quote tweeted this, and I was like, I don't usually retweet this shit account, but this is them basically feeding themselves information.
It's pretty sad, is what it seems. I mean, it comes off pretty pathetic, and like in a way, like, no, actually, I'm gonna say it. I get some pleasure out of knowing that they are feeling the fucking the burn right now, right? Like every single one of them, they may not be, hurting for paying their bills. I'm sure Critical Drinker's doing fine financially, but he's definitely recognizing that it's less than he was getting. He's definitely they're noticing that the growth has stopped and it's actually started to contract a little bit. And that, whatever feeling they have whenever they think about that, like, oh no, what am I going to do? Well, I want to take a moment and appreciate that they're having that fucking shitty feeling, because they deserve it. So,
well, I want to point out that if you look at Critical Drinker's channel right now, he's not really doing consistent, typical chud videos. Like, He did a crash and burn of Blake Lively, but other than that, it's like Tomb Raider's Better Than You Remember, the Resident Evil trailer reaction with no weird funny title, no weird thumbnail, Michael, the critics were wrong, casting calamities, which I guess that's kind of chuddy, but it's not the typical chud video, a video about Avengers Doomsday's budget, which I talked about, Resident Evil video, and Unforgiven, analyzing the greatest Western ever made. It seems to me like he knows that that the chud content isn't really working anymore. He's pivoting, it seems, which I predicted, and I think we talked about it, that they would have to do that.
You're probably right. I do have to get going though, man. It's been excellent chatting with you, catching up, and we definitely should stream again. If you want me to have be on one of yours sometime soon, let me know.
Yeah. Like, I'd love to have you jump on anytime.
Cool.
All right.
And yeah, thanks for hopping on. And everybody, obviously subscribe to Eric Debunks. You already are. If you're not, what's wrong with you? And then maybe go over and check out the official Modern Audience, and Show Clips and Dane AF and all the other stuff. Yeah. On that note, hope you guys have a lovely remainder of your week. Let me see here.
Obviously, our own creation.
Indeed.